If you want to live a stronger, more focused life, it starts with one decision. You must take control of your mind. Not tomorrow, not next week, right now. Everything else you want, discipline, confidence, power, peace, begins the moment you stop living on autopilot and choose to lead yourself. This isn't about a quick fix, a 5-minute motivational high, or a catchy quote that feels good and then disappears. This is about building a mindset so resilient and so sharp that it changes how you think, how you move, and how you show up every single day. A true warrior mindset isn't built in a single moment of hype. It's forged in the hundreds of quiet decisions you make when no one is watching, when it would be easier to stay weak, stay comfortable, or stay the same. In this guide, you're going to learn how to develop that warrior mindset step by step, not as vague theory, not as complicated philosophy, but as clear, direct actions you can start using today. You'll understand how your daily habits slowly shape the person you become. You'll see how to gain control over your emotions instead of letting them drag you around. You'll learn why discipline will always beat motivation over the long term, and you'll get practical strategies to help you stay committed, not just for a day or a week, but for years. This isn't about perfection, it's about progression. It's about becoming stronger, more intentional, more dangerous in the best way possible. It's about learning how to push through discomfort instead of running from it, and how to build a purpose that drives you even when nobody is clapping for you, nobody is watching you, and nobody is there to give you permission. By the time you're done, you'll understand how to lead yourself like a true warrior, not because you memorized some rules, but because you have practiced again and again the discipline of showing up and doing the work. If you're ready to stop making excuses and start making real changes, this is where it begins. The hardest battles you will ever fight are not out there in the world. They're not against the people who doubted you, not against the circumstances that tried to break you, not even against the failures that haunt your memory. The hardest battles are the silent ones, the ones that take place inside your own mind every single day. Most people never admit this to themselves. They think the problem is always out there, the economy, the family, the boss, the past. But a warrior knows the real war is within. If you win that inner war, nothing outside can defeat you, not permanently, not completely. If you lose that inner war, no amount of external success will ever feel like victory. Developing a warrior mindset means being willing to confront the real opponent, yourself. It doesn't begin on some dramatic battlefield or in front of an audience. It doesn't start in the gym, under bright lights, or on a stage where everyone sees your efforts. It begins in the quiet moments. It begins when you're alone with your thoughts and you have to decide, will I move forward or will I stay exactly where I am? The greatest warriors in history weren't just physically strong or technically skilled. They were masters of themselves. They understood their drives, their weaknesses, their impulses, and their fears. They knew their own minds so well that no enemy could easily use their flaws against them. That is the level of inner mastery you must begin to build if you want to truly conquer your life instead of drifting through it.
Knowing yourself at this level is not some soft idea or a pretty quote to post online. It's hard work, deep, uncomfortable, confronting work. And that is why most people avoid it. They fill their days with noise and distraction, so they never have to listen to what's actually going on inside. They scroll endlessly, chase validation, stay busy with meaningless tasks, anything to avoid sitting alone with their own thoughts. But your real power lives exactly in that space you've been avoiding. The space where you face yourself with no filters, no lies, no excuses. When you step onto this inner battlefield, the first rule is brutal honesty. Not the shallow kind of honesty where you casually say, "Yeah, I have some flaws," and move on. This is radical self-examination, the kind that makes you uncomfortable because it shows you where you've been hiding, where you've been settling, and where you've been lying to yourself. You must be willing to ask yourself questions that cut deep. Where am I undisciplined? Where am I pretending I'm trying when I know I'm not? What patterns am I repeating that keep me stuck in the same place year after year? You have to become a student of your own mind. Watch how you react when plans fall apart. Notice your first instinct when things get hard. Pay attention to the clever excuses that appear when you want to avoid the hard, necessary work. Catch yourself when you think, "I'll start tomorrow," even though you've said that 100 times. Notice when fear quietly chooses for you without you even realizing it. That's the real war, right there. Many people quit this inner work as soon as they see what's really inside. They see laziness, resentment, doubt, jealousy, insecurity, and weakness, and they turn away. They would rather protect their ego than build their strength. That is where the warrior and the average person separate. A warrior doesn't deny his flaws, and he doesn't dramatize them either. He looks them in the eye, he acknowledges them fully, and then chooses to use them. There is nothing wrong with having anger, fear, or laziness inside you. These emotions are not defects, they are sources of raw energy, and energy can be redirected. A warrior takes the emotion that could destroy him and forges it into something that fuels him. Anger becomes drive and determination. Fear becomes focus and alertness. Laziness becomes a signal that it's time to rest, recover, and then come back stronger, not an excuse to give up. You don't have to destroy these parts of yourself. You have to command them. When you learn to know yourself this deeply, you stop being predictable. You stop being blindsided by the same triggers over and over. You learn what situations tempt you to quit, what environments feed your worst habits, what thoughts lead you down the wrong path. Because you know your patterns, you can prepare for them. Just as a warrior doesn't step onto a battlefield without a plan, you don't step into your day without strategies to face your own weaknesses.
Imagine you've noticed a pattern. Every time you stay up late scrolling, you skip your morning routine. You keep telling yourself it's no big deal because you'll get back on track tomorrow. But tomorrow quietly turns into a week, then a month, and before you know it, the identity you wanted to build has been delayed again. That is not an accident, it's a pattern. And if you don't take control of that pattern, it will take control of you. Now, imagine you approach this like a warrior. You study the situation honestly and identify the trigger, late-night distractions. You create a clear, simple rule: no phone after a certain time. You turn off notifications, plug your phone in across the room, maybe even in another part of the house. You make a plan for what you'll do instead: stretching, reading, journaling, preparing for the next day. You build a battle plan for that specific weakness. Then, when the familiar moment of temptation comes, you're not surprised and you're not helpless. You're ready. That's how warriors think: anticipate, prepare, execute. But beyond controlling triggers, there is an even deeper step. You must decide who you are becoming. Not vaguely, with phrases like "I want to be better," but clearly, like a sculptor chiseling a detailed statue out of stone. Who do you want to be when life hits hard? What kind of person do you want to become when everyone else is panicking or quitting? How do you want people to remember you when you're gone? Not just what you did, but how you lived. You must answer these questions with ruthless clarity and write the answers down. Every single word matters, because clarity creates power. When you define the warrior you are committed to becoming, you give yourself a standard to live up to. You're no longer drifting, you're aiming. This isn't about perfection, it's about direction. Some days you'll live up to that identity, some days you'll fall short. But as long as the direction stays clear, you wake up and aim at that target again and again. Over time, your thoughts, your habits, and your character begin to align with that written code of who you chose to be. This leads to the final brutal piece of the inner battlefield: ownership. Full,
ruthless, unapologetic ownership. Most people spend their lives blaming. They blame their parents for what they didn't give them, their past for what it did, society for its unfairness, their boss, their partner, their circumstances, their bad luck. Blame feels comforting in the moment because it lifts the weight of responsibility off your shoulders. But blame is a chain. It keeps you stuck exactly where you are. Warriors refuse to waste their energy blaming anyone or anything. They look at every situation, even the ones that weren't their fault, and ask a single powerful question: what can I control here? Because if you can control something, you can change it. And if you can change it, you are not powerless.
Imagine living that way. Imagine taking ownership of your time, your energy, your reactions, your attitude, and your choices. Imagine never waiting on anyone else to save you because you already know that everything you truly need to move forward is inside you: courage, creativity, discipline, and will. That is freedom. That is strength. That is what the warrior mindset gives you. This is not intellectual theory, it's daily practice. It shows up in how you talk to yourself when you want to quit, in how you behave when nobody is watching, in the decisions you make when you are tired, doubtful, or afraid. You show up anyway. You stay disciplined anyway. You stay true to who you said you would be anyway. Over time, these small acts of integrity form something unbreakable inside you, a core that does not bend every time life pushes. The inner battlefield is where everything else begins. Once you learn how to face yourself and win here, you become capable of facing anything out there. It will never be easy, and it isn't supposed to be. But if you were looking for easy, you wouldn't be reading this. Something in you already knows you are built for more, and you're ready to fight for it. That is why this journey is for you. When you wake up in the morning and your feet hit the ground, there should be something inside you that pulls you forward before the world even has a chance to push back. That something is your why, your deep, unshakable reason for fighting, working, sacrificing, and refusing to quit. Discipline matters. Consistency matters. But when pain reaches a level you never expected, when your mind is foggy and your heart is heavy, when life feels like it's collapsing on top of you, discipline alone is often not enough. In those moments, what makes you stand back up when you can't even think straight is your why. A why that runs deep is like a flag planted in the middle of your soul. It does not move when the storm comes. The problem is that most people never truly define their why. They adopt someone else's dream, someone else's definition of success. They chase money because they were told that's what matters. They chase status because society worships image. They chase revenge because they want to prove people wrong. These motives can light a spark, but they burn out quickly. They're shallow fuel. Once the initial fire fades, there's nothing left to keep you moving through real hardship.
Your why has to be more personal, more honest, and much deeper than that. It has to be something you are willing to suffer for. If you're not willing to endure discomfort, sacrifice, and struggle for it, it's not your why. It's just a wish. Warriors don't fight for wishes or fantasies. They fight for convictions. For some people, their why is family, the desire to be the rock their children can depend on, to break generational patterns of weakness, to become the leader their family never had. For others, it's redemption, not revenge against others, but redemption in their own eyes. They are driven by the need to prove to themselves that they are no longer the broken, weak, or lost version they once were. For some, the why is impact. They want to build something that outlives them, to serve, to teach, to inspire, to create. For others, it might be mastery, the need to see how far they can go, how sharp they can become, how much potential they can unlock in one lifetime. Only you can discover what your true why is, but you will not find it by accident. To find it, you have to strip away the noise.
You must be willing to question everything you've been told you're supposed to want. You have to sit with yourself without distraction, without a screen, without the constant chatter of other people's opinions. Ask yourself hard questions. Who do I truly want to become? Not for social media, not for validation, but for me. What kind of life do I actually want to live day to day, not just in 5 or 10 years? What am I genuinely willing to struggle for, to be uncomfortable for, to keep working toward even when it hurts? The answers may not come instantly. You may need to write, reflect, walk alone, and revisit these questions over and over. That's okay. The search itself is part of the work. What matters is that you stop living on autopilot and start designing your life around a purpose you chose. Once you touch even a piece of that why, once you feel your heartbeat speed up when you think about it, you must protect it like your life depends on it, because in many ways, it does.
A life without purpose is like a ship without a compass. It drifts, it crashes, and eventually it sinks. A life with purpose, on the other hand, can take hit after hit and still keep moving forward because it knows where it's going and why it must keep going. When you are clear on your why, you stop wasting time on things that don't matter. You stop chasing random opportunities that don't align with your mission. You stop explaining your path to people who will never understand it. Your focus sharpens, your discipline deepens. You build your days, your habits, and your decisions around your mission instead of your mood. Moods shift constantly. One bad night of sleep, one comment, one delay, and your feelings can change, but a mission stays. The greatest warriors, leaders, and game changers in history all had a why that was bigger than their comfort. They were doubted, criticized, exhausted, hurt, sometimes even broken, but they didn't quit because they weren't doing it for applause. They were carrying out a mission. The mission was always bigger than the pain. You can live that way too, but only if you commit to stop drifting and choose a purpose worth fighting for. Commitment to your why cannot be a one-time emotional moment. It has to be renewed daily. Every morning you remind yourself, this is why I am up early. This is why I'm pushing. This is why I refuse to settle. You write your why down. You say it out loud. You check your decisions against it. Does this move me toward or away from my mission? You guard it from distractions, from people who pull you off track, from habits that drain your energy and blur your focus. Because if you don't build your life around your why, you will end up living someone else's. You'll chase their goals, adopt their timelines, and inherit their regrets. Don't let that be your story. Decide, fight, keep fighting. The warrior mindset is not about perfection, it is about direction. It is about waking up every day with a sense of purpose, moving through your day with fire in your heart and discipline in your actions, and going to sleep knowing you honored your mission. Find your why, make it personal, make it powerful, make it yours. Then burn the boats, no retreat, no turning back, only forward. You're not here to merely survive, you're here to conquer. Your why is the key that unlocks that life. Walking through life without a personal code is like sailing without a map. You drift wherever the current pulls you, into situations you never chose, into habits you never questioned, into a life that doesn't feel like yours. Many people wake up one day, look back, and realize they never became the person they could have been. Not because they didn't have potential, but because they never had a code. A warrior is different. A warrior doesn't live by accident. He chooses his standards, his values, and his rules for living. And once he chooses them, he stands on them, no matter what. This unshakable code becomes the steel running through his character. It doesn't bend with mood, trend, or pressure. It defines who he is, whether he's alone in the dark or standing in front of thousands.
If you want a warrior mindset, you can't rely on strength alone. You need structure. You need something inside you that cannot be touched even when everything around you shakes. That something is your code. Your code is not a list of rules someone else wrote for you. It is not a set of standards you borrowed because they sound good. It is the law you write for your own life. That is the difference between a follower and a leader, between an ordinary life and a life of honor. The world is loud. It's full of people trying to tell you how to live, what to believe, what to chase, what to tolerate. If you don't define your own values, the world will define them for you, and you will pay the price. A man or woman with a code sleeps with a different kind of peace. Even if nobody praises them, even if nobody notices the small sacrifices they make, they know, deep down, today I stayed true to myself. That inner respect is worth more than any external approval. Building your code is not something you do once and forget about. It's not a motivational exercise. It's a lifelong practice. Your code lives in your smallest decisions, how you act when nobody is watching, how you speak when silence would be easier, how you treat people who can do nothing for you. Your values don't just show up in big moments, they're revealed in the little, invisible ones. Those small choices, repeated millions of times, shape who you become. Most people think of values as soft ideas, nice words to hang on a wall. For a warrior, values are not decoration, they are weapons and armor. They are discipline. They are the fuel behind early mornings, hard training, honest conversations, and difficult sacrifices. Without that fuel, you will burn out. You might push hard for a while on willpower alone, but when life hits you, when you're tired, broke, misunderstood, or under pressure, you'll start bending if you have nothing deeper holding you up. A strong code becomes your anchor in those storms. Think of the people you admire most, the ones who remain steady under pressure, who don't just talk about strength but live it. If you look closely, you'll see they have a personal code, values they refuse to compromise, decisions they made long before the test ever came. They know who they are and what they stand for, and that clarity lets them move with quiet power. This isn't about being rigid from ego. It's about giving yourself something stronger than your feelings on a bad day. Emotions pull you in 100 directions. A code keeps you steady. You can be angry and still stay honorable. You can be tempted and still stay loyal. You can be afraid and still do the right thing. That is real strength. Ask yourself honestly, what are my values? If everything external were stripped away, money, job, titles, image, what would remain? Who would I be then? What do I truly stand for when there is no applause and no audience? If you don't have an answer, it's time to get clear. Warriors do not guess who they are. They decide. Your code might include integrity, always telling the truth, especially when it costs you. It might include discipline, doing what needs to be done whether or not you feel like it. It might include loyalty, standing by your people, your family, your team when it's hard, not just when it's easy. It might include courage, choosing the harder, more honest path instead of the comfortable lie. Whatever your values are, they must be yours. Don't copy someone else's life. Write your own law. Then live it so consistently that people can sense your character before you even speak. Real respect cannot be demanded, it is earned. And it is earned by living your code over and over again, especially when it hurts, especially when you could get away with breaking it.
Your code will be tested. Life will put you in situations where doing the right thing costs you time, comfort, money, approval. There will be moments when compromising would be easier, more profitable, or more comfortable. That is where you discover whether your code is real or just nice words. If you have built it strong enough, you won't hesitate. You will choose what is right over what is easy. You will walk away from what violates your standards, even if it looks like everyone else is getting ahead by cutting corners. Do not wait for life to test you before you start building this strength. Test yourself every day. Look for the harder choice. Train yourself to speak the truth when a lie would be smoother. Do the disciplined thing when laziness would go unnoticed. These small daily acts are how you build the muscle of character. Then, when the big tests come, you won't have to rise to the occasion. You will simply be who you already are, a person with a code. Over time, people feel this. They can tell who is real and who is pretending. You won't have to announce your values. They'll be visible in the way you carry yourself, in the energy you bring, in the consistency of your actions. This attracts other warriors, other people of principle. Together, that kind of tribe is nearly unbreakable. But it starts with one person in a quiet room deciding who they will be and refusing to back down from that decision. The difference between people who talk about winning and those who actually win almost always comes down to one word: discipline. Not talent, not luck, not connections, not motivation. Discipline. Motivation is emotional. It comes and goes like the weather. Discipline is a decision. It's a standard you live by regardless of how you feel. Motivation is loud, hyped, and exciting. It shows up when the music is good, when you're well rested, when the goal is new and shiny. But when the grind sets in, when you're exhausted, when results are slow, when no one is watching, motivation quietly disappears. If your life is built on waiting to feel motivated, you will stop every time it gets hard. You will break every promise you make to yourself. You will stay stuck in cycles of starting and quitting. Warriors don't live that way. Warriors build their lives on discipline.
Discipline doesn't ask, "Do I feel like it?" Discipline asks, "What did I say I would do?" Discipline is getting up when the alarm goes off because you decided your mission matters more than your comfort. It's training your body when you're tired because you promised yourself you would grow stronger. It's working on your craft, your business, your skills when no one is checking on you. Discipline shows up when motivation is nowhere to be found. It is the quiet power behind every great achievement. Success in any field is far more boring and repetitive than people want to admit. It's not a highlight reel, it's a loop. The same small actions repeated day after day after day, long after the initial excitement has faded. Waking up on time, eating with intention, honoring your schedule, studying when you'd rather scroll, saying no to distractions that are fun now but expensive later. This grind is where discipline lives, and it is in this grind that warriors are made. When you start to live this way, doing what you said you'd do regardless of your feelings, you begin to trust yourself on a different level. Most people live with a quiet distrust of themselves because they know how often they break their own word. They say, "This time I'm serious," and then don't follow through. They promise, "Tomorrow I'll start," and then delay again. Every broken commitment erodes self-respect. Discipline reverses that. Every time you follow through on a promise to yourself, you lay a brick of self-trust. After enough repetitions, you become someone who deeply believes, "If I say it, I'll do it." That belief changes everything. You stop negotiating with your own weakness. You stop looking for easy exits. You stop needing external validation or hype to keep going. You become dangerous in the best way, reliable, relentless, and unstoppable. Discipline is not something you are born with. It is not a personality trait reserved for a select few. It is a skill and a habit built exactly the way you build muscle, one rep at a time.
You don't wait until you feel ready. You start where you are, with what you can do right now. Too many people kill their own progress by aiming for massive change overnight. They try to overhaul their whole life in one burst of motivation, fail, and then tell themselves a story like, "I'm just not disciplined." That's a lie. You don't need to run a marathon on day one. You need to take one step, do one push-up, read one page, wake up 5 minutes earlier, choose water instead of soda once, then repeat. Small wins stack. They build momentum. Over time, the actions that once felt hard start to feel normal. They become part of who you are, not something you're constantly forcing yourself to do. Discipline becomes your default.
There will be days when discipline itself feels like a fight. You will be tempted to skip just this once, to cut a corner no one else would notice, to tell yourself you'll get back on track tomorrow. But tomorrow is not guaranteed. All you truly have is today, this decision, this moment. Discipline is about owning the present. It's choosing to do the work now so your future self won't have to carry the weight of your current weakness. Ironically, discipline is what creates true freedom. People think freedom means doing whatever you feel like in the moment, but that kind of freedom always comes with a bill. Poor health, wasted time, shallow relationships, unfinished dreams. Real freedom is the ability to choose what is right over what is easy, to direct your life instead of being dragged by impulses. Discipline gives you that power. When you know you can rely on yourself, you are no longer a slave to moods, cravings, or excuses. You are in control. If you're tired of starting over, tired of feeling like each year looks like the last, tired of breaking promises to yourself, then draw a line in the sand. Decide that from now on, motivation is a bonus, not a requirement. Decide that your word means something, even when no one else hears it. Pick one thing you've been avoiding, one action you know would move your life forward, and do it today, not later, today. Even if it's small, especially if it's small, because small acts of discipline compound into massive change over time. The pain of discipline is temporary. The pride of discipline lasts a lifetime. You will never regret doing the work. You will only regret years later that you didn't start sooner. Discipline is not a cage. It is the key. It is a promise you make to yourself every day and then keep. Live that way long enough, and there is nothing you cannot build, nothing you cannot become. Every true warrior throughout history has understood a simple truth. You cannot be strong in life if you are weak in your body. You can have sharp ideas, a big vision, or a strong spirit, but if your body collapses under pressure, everything else collapses with it. Your body is your first and last weapon. It carries you into every fight, every challenge, every mission. Treat it with disrespect, neglect, or laziness, and you limit what your mind and spirit can ever achieve. Train it, sharpen it, challenge it, and you unlock levels of strength, energy, and confidence you might not even know are possible. Physical discipline is not about vanity. It's about readiness. It's about being capable of carrying weight, of enduring fatigue, of reacting quickly, of staying in the fight when others are finished. It doesn't matter what field you're in, what goals you have, or what kind of life you want. The foundation always comes back to how you take care of yourself. If your energy is low, your decisions suffer. If your body is stiff, sluggish, or constantly in pain because of inactivity and poor habits, your mind cannot operate at peak capacity. Many people tell themselves, "I'm too busy to train, I'm too exhausted to work out," or "I'll start when things calm down." But in reality, they're exhausted because they don't train, because they don't fuel their body well, because they sit for hours and call it rest while their strength slowly decays. Deep down, they know they're living below their potential, and they feel it every time they look in the mirror or climb a flight of stairs and get winded.
If you want to walk the path of a warrior, you must treat your body like the high-performance machine it was designed to be. Imagine owning a powerful sports car and never changing the oil, never putting in quality fuel, never checking the engine, and then expecting it to win races. That's how most people treat their bodies. They feed them junk, deprive them of movement, disrespect sleep, and then act surprised when they feel weak, foggy, and unmotivated. Strength begins with movement. Not once a week, not once in a while. Daily, intentional movement. It doesn't matter whether it's lifting heavy weights, sprinting, calisthenics, martial arts, running hills, or carrying sandbags. What matters is that you move on purpose, that you push yourself beyond comfort often enough that your body has to adapt. When you train this way, you don't just build muscle, you build belief. Every completed workout is a message to yourself. I do hard things. I don't quit when it hurts. I keep my word. You might feel far from this standard right now. Maybe you're out of shape, overweight, stressed, burned out, or dealing with health issues. That's okay. What matters is not where you are, but that you start. Start with what you can do today. If 10 push-ups are all you have, do 10 push-ups. If walking around the block feels challenging, walk around the block. But show up day after day. The body responds to consistency. As you show up and push just a little farther than yesterday, your capacity expands, your strength grows, your endurance increases. Your mind learns that discomfort is not a threat, but a doorway. Training won't always feel good. There will be soreness, sweat, and days when your body and brain argue for the couch. Those are the most important days. Easy days don't build warriors. Hard days do. Every time you train when you don't feel like it, you separate yourself from the crowd. That's where your edge is. Stack enough of those days, and you wake up one morning realizing you've become someone you barely recognize. Leaner, stronger, more confident, more capable.
You cannot separate physical strength from mental and emotional strength. A weak, neglected body makes it harder to think clearly, to control emotions, and to stand tall under pressure. On the other hand, when you consistently train, fuel yourself well, drink enough water, and respect your sleep, your mind becomes sharper. Your emotional resilience grows. You handle stress better. You project confidence without trying. Taking time to train is not selfish, it is responsible. You can't pour from an empty cup. The stronger you are, the more you can give to your family, your work, your mission. Warriors lead by example. If you want the people around you to level up, to be healthier, stronger, more disciplined, you must be willing to go first. So if you've been waiting for a perfect time to start, understand this. There is no perfect time. There is only now. Decide you are done living small, done being held back by your own body. Decide that from this day forward, you will train like a warrior, consistently, intensely, and with respect for the gift of a body you've been given. On the other side of that effort is a version of you that is ready for war in every area of life. Strength is not just about how much weight you can move or how fast you can run. It's about what happens in your mind when everything gets heavy, when the weight is emotional, mental, or spiritual. You can have a strong body and still break under pressure if your mind has never been trained. Every battle you face begins and ends in your head. Mental toughness is the difference between those who rise and those who fold when life hits hard. Life will not spare you. You will be tested by stress, setbacks, rejection, criticism, uncertainty, and loss. Without mental toughness, each blow will knock you off course. You'll let bad days turn into bad weeks. You'll let one failure convince you you're a failure. You'll let fear talk you out of opportunities that could change your life. With mental toughness, you experience the same pain, but respond differently. You don't deny the difficulty, you refuse to be defined by it.
Mental toughness is not something a lucky few are born with. It's a skill, a habit, a choice you build through repeated exposure to challenge. Your mind is a muscle. If you never push it, never stress it, never ask it to endure more than what's comfortable, it will remain weak. To build toughness, you must train your mind the way you train your body, by gradually increasing the load. This doesn't mean seeking chaos or being reckless. It means intentionally putting yourself in situations that stretch you. Finish the last set when you want to rack the weight. Take the cold shower when everything in you wants warm water. Wake up earlier than feels comfortable. Sit with your thoughts in silence instead of reaching for your phone. Tell the truth when a lie would protect your image. Each of these choices is a rep for your mind. Every time you resist the urge to choose comfort over growth, you send yourself a message. I can handle this. I don't run.
Being mentally tough doesn't mean you don't feel fear, sadness, or doubt. It means you feel them fully, but you don't let them control your actions. Fear might show up, but it doesn't get a vote. Doubt might whisper in your ear, but it doesn't get to decide. Pain might slow you down, but it doesn't make you stop. That is the core of mental toughness. You act based on your values and your mission, not on your fleeting emotions. There will be moments in your life when everything seems to be falling apart. Betrayals, financial hits, family crises, sudden losses. These are the moments where most people break or numb out. A warrior feels the weight, maybe even bends under it for a while, but eventually that inner voice rises. I will not quit. I will not be broken. Mental toughness is that voice getting stronger and louder because you've trained it in daily, smaller situations. This kind of resilience doesn't just help you survive, it positions you to lead. When other people are overwhelmed by stress, they look for someone who is calm, steady, and clear. If you've done the work, trained under pressure, embraced discomfort, built the habit of finishing what you start, you can be that person. The one who doesn't panic, doesn't flinch, doesn't need everything to be easy in order to move forward. But you cannot give what you don't have. If you want to be the rock others can lean on, you must first let life shape you into a rock. That means embracing the fire instead of running from it. It means understanding that every hardship you endure with integrity and courage is not just something you get through, it's something that's building you into who you were meant to be. Mental toughness, once earned, cannot be taken from you. Critics can't touch it. Circumstances can't steal it. Failure can't erase it. It becomes part of who you are, a calm, quiet strength that you carry with you into every battle. Mastering your emotions is one of the highest forms of strength. If you can't control your emotions will control you. And when that happens, you cannot trust yourself to lead. Life is full of triggers: disrespect, stress, disappointment, fear, uncertainty. If every time something hits you, you explode in anger, shut down into silence, drown in sadness, or paralyze yourself with anxiety, you will keep sabotaging your own progress. A warrior understands that emotions are powerful but neutral. They are not enemies to be destroyed and not gods to be worshipped. They are messengers. Anger often points to something you care deeply about or a boundary that's been crossed. Fear can signal risk that needs to be evaluated. Sadness can reveal loss, misalignment, or a need for change. The warrior feels all of this, but remains in the driver's seat. He doesn't hand his life over to an emotional impulse. Emotional control starts with awareness. Most people react without knowing why. They snap at others because underneath the anger there is fear. They shut down because underneath the numbness there is pain they don't want to face. A warrior becomes a student of his own inner world. In heated moments, he learns to slow things down, if only for a few seconds. He notices the tension in his body, the stories in his mind, the rise of heat or heaviness. He names it. This is anger. This is fear. This is frustration. Naming the emotion creates space between you and it. In that space, you gain power. You are no longer fused with the feeling. You are the one observing it. From there, you can ask, why is this here? What is it trying to tell me? What action aligns with my values right now? This shift from automatic reaction to conscious response is the heart of emotional control. Controlling your emotions does not mean suppressing them. Suppression only buries feelings alive, and buried emotions eventually surface in destructive ways, outbursts, breakdowns, self-sabotage. Emotional control means you feel fully, but you choose wisely. You might channel anger into extra reps in the gym, extra focus on your goals, or a courageous conversation instead of violent words. You might use fear as a sign to prepare more, to sharpen your skills, or to step forward carefully, not as a signal to run away. You might use sadness as fuel to realign your life with your values, to deepen your empathy, or to appreciate what and who you still have. You are directing the energy, not letting it explode randomly. Over time, as you practice this, you become very hard to manipulate. People can push your buttons, but they no longer control what happens next. Circumstances can disappoint you, but they don't own your reactions. You are stable in a world that is constantly shaking. This emotional steadiness is a core part of leadership. Families, teams, and communities don't need perfect leaders, they need solid ones. People who can feel anxiety, but not project it onto everyone else. People who can feel anger, but not burn bridges. People who can feel hurt, but still choose dignity. You build this one small moment at a time. How you respond in traffic, when someone disrespects you, when plans change, when stress spikes. Each of these situations is a rep in your emotional gym. If you can master the small storms, you will be more prepared for the big ones. Life will not stop throwing waves at you, but with emotional control, you learn how to surf instead of drown. You will still feel, you just won't fall apart, and the people around you will sense that strength. They will trust you more, rely on you more, and be influenced by your example. Emotional control doesn't make life easier, it makes you stronger than the difficulty.
There is a principle that, once truly understood and lived, makes you almost untouchable. Focus only on what you can control and release what you cannot. This is the essence of the Stoic warrior mindset. The world is chaotic by nature. Plans fail, people disappoint you, markets crash, illness appears, weather changes your route. If your peace depends on everything going your way, you will never know peace. You'll live in constant fear and frustration, always trying to bend reality to your will. A Stoic warrior refuses to waste his energy fighting the parts of life he cannot change. He doesn't burn hours replaying the past, obsessing over other people's opinions, or predicting a future he cannot fully control. Instead, he pours his effort into the one arena where he always has power: his own thoughts, choices, and actions. This doesn't mean being passive or detached from life. It means being radically responsible for your role in it. You cannot control whether someone betrays you, but you can control how you respond, with bitterness that poisons you, or with boundaries that protect you and strength that grows you. You cannot control that setbacks happen, but you can control whether you use them as excuses or as training. You cannot control that you will eventually face loss, but you can control what kind of person you are in those seasons, whether you collapse permanently or rise with deeper wisdom and compassion. Each time you catch yourself worrying about something outside your control, you have a choice. You can spiral deeper into anxiety, or you can pull your focus back. What specifically can I do right now? Sometimes the answer is an action. Sometimes it's preparation. Sometimes it's acceptance and letting go. All three are forms of strength.
This discipline of controlling your focus is built day by day. At first, you'll slip often. You'll get caught in overthinking, replaying arguments, trying to read minds, or predicting outcomes that haven't happened. When you notice it, don't punish yourself. Simply redirect. Ask, is this within my control? If not, release it. Put your energy where it counts. Over time, this becomes a habit. You stop carrying the weight of things that were never yours to carry. You stop living as a victim of circumstance and start living as a creator within your circumstances. The storm might rage, but inside you are calm and clear. That doesn't mean you feel nothing. It means you are not ruled by the chaos.
If you win the morning, you win the day. The way you start your day sets the tone for everything that follows. Those first minutes after you wake up are not neutral. They are either strengthening you or weakening you. Too many people open their eyes and immediately hand their mind over to a screen. Notifications, messages, news, and noise start pulling their attention in 100 directions before they've taken a single conscious breath. By the time they get out of bed, they are already reacting, already behind, already scattered. Warriors don't wake up to be pulled into other people's agendas. Warriors wake up to lead themselves. A powerful morning ritual is not about perfection or some Instagram aesthetic. It's about building a consistent system that grounds you, sharpens you, and reminds you who you are and what matters most before the world's chaos arrives. You do not need a 2-hour complex routine. You need something you can actually keep. Simple, intentional, and aligned with your mission. At its core, a strong morning ritual does 3 things. First, it centers your mind. Through silence, breathing, prayer, meditation, journaling, or reading something that fuels you. You choose what enters your mind first, instead of letting the outside world decide. Second, it moves your body. Stretching, walking, training, or any form of deliberate movement, because a body that has already moved is more awake, more focused, and more resilient to stress. Third, it aligns your day. You review your priorities, connect them to your larger mission, and decide what must be done today. You step into the day with intention, not confusion. The exact details are up to you. You might wake early, drink water, sit in silence for a few minutes, write down 3 things you are grateful for and 3 key tasks that matter most, then train your body. You might pray, read a short passage that strengthens your mindset, review your goals, and go for a run. The form can change, but the function is the same. You are taking control of your state before your environment does. At first, building this habit will feel hard. You'll be tempted to hit snooze, to skip just this once, to tell yourself you'll start tomorrow. That's exactly why it's powerful. Each morning you follow through, you reinforce your identity. I am someone who leads my life. I am someone who does hard things first. Over time, it becomes less of a fight and more of a rhythm. One day you'll realize you don't feel right if you skip your ritual, because it has become part of who you are.
In a world of constant distraction, laser focus is a superpower. You can be talented, creative, and driven, but if you can't concentrate deeply on what matters, your potential will always be cut in half. Distraction is not neutral. It is an enemy of your mission. Every time you break focus for something trivial, you leak mental energy. The world is designed to steal your attention. Notifications, feeds, endless content, messages from people you barely know. If you're not intentional, you'll spend your days reacting to everything instead of creating anything. You'll feel busy but accomplish little. You'll feel tired but have no meaningful progress to show for it. A warrior cannot afford to live that way. Your attention is your most valuable currency. You must guard it fiercely. Focus is built like everything else in this guide, through disciplined practice and hard choices. You train your focus by doing one thing at a time with your full attention. When you work,
Phone away, notifications off, no mindless tab hopping. You commit blocks of time to deep work and protect them. When you're with people, you're with them, no half listening while scrolling. When you train, no drifting, no going through the motions. You stop glorifying multitasking because you understand it makes you less effective at everything. You design your environment for focus, a clear workspace, limited inputs, defined periods of connection and disconnection. Distractions will still show up, but instead of surrendering to them, you notice them and quickly bring your mind back to the task or person in front of you. This is how you build a mind like a laser, not by never getting distracted, but by always returning to what matters. As your focus strengthens, you become more powerful and more peaceful. You do less, but achieve more. You stop scattering your energy across 100 shallow efforts and instead go deep on the few things that actually move your life forward. People around you will sense the difference. In a world of fractured attention, someone who can be fully present, fully engaged, is rare and valuable. That is the edge of the warrior in the modern world. A disciplined body, a resilient mind, a steady heart, and a focused spirit, all working together toward a clear mission. This is the life you are building, one decision at a time.